I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there, Price of Reason here with a movie review. In our day and age, with so many Hollywood studios relying on existing franchises for most of their high-profile movies, it's always refreshing to see something new and original. So when I heard about the movie Challengers, a tennis-based sports drama, I was genuinely interested in seeing it. After all, I've seen some great sports dramas over the years, and I generally like this genre. And with critics on Rotten Tomatoes giving it a world-class score, and Zendaya starring in a lead role in it, what could possibly go wrong? In this video, I will go over the general plot for Challengers without spoiling anything that hasn't already been seen in trailers, talk about what I didn't like about the movie, what I did like about the movie, followed by my official score. And if you can, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and get notifications, as it would really help my channel. Challengers follows the careers and relationships of 3 tennis players that originally meet while they're in their teens. As the movie jumps back and forth through time, we learn that although Zendaya initially dates one of them, she ultimately ends up marrying his best friend while also becoming his coach. This is after her own tennis career is cut short due to a serious knee injury. As the years go by, the characters find themselves in different places in life. Relationships change and each one has different goals. But now there's a small tournament that has these 2 former friends and rivals competing against each other once again. A tournament that could have major consequences on their lives moving forward. And the big question is, who's gonna win? Now, when I just described the plot of the movie to you, it actually sounded pretty interesting, even to me. But in my opinion, that actually only highlights the biggest problem this movie has. The premise is solid and could have been the foundation of a genuinely good movie in the hands of other people. Because between overrated producer Amy Pascal, overrated director Luca Guadagnino, and first-time screenplay writer Justin Kuritzkis, this movie ends up being extremely disappointing. For starters, the movie just keeps jumping back and forth in time, and not in a cool Tarantino type of way, but mainly as a tool to conceal how relatively boring and hollow the movie is. Seeing the adult characters as teens and a few flashbacks could have been fine if used sparingly, but this movie is completely obsessed with this storytelling technique, even as it quickly outstays its welcome. Then again, what else could you have expected from a writer who's never written a screenplay before, and only has a track record of writing a few stage plays that were exclusively performed on New York college campuses? And it's not like movie director Luca Guadagnino manages to overcome the obstacles of the script here in any way either. In fact, with his not-so-secret underlying themes, he actually makes the movie even worse. While the media seems to constantly shower Guadagnino with praise, to date, he's mainly known for making a movie about Armie Hammer and a young Timothée Chalamet falling in love. A movie that Hollywood loved so much that it showered it with many nominations and even an Academy Award for some reason. And while that movie may have struck a chord with a relatively niche audience,
and I got news for you.
I think Guadagnino's expertise isn't exactly a good fit for a sports drama. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have any skills as a director, but this movie is nothing more than a bait and switch. Instead of showing us a more thoughtful and realistic testosterone-fueled rivalry between 2 guys competing against each other in every aspect of life, the main focus of the movie always seems to be how they both follow Zendaya around like 2 sensitive poodles. And while that may actually be why the Rotten Tomatoes approved critics like this movie so much, I actually think that this is the movie's biggest weakness. Because at the end of the day, this movie is not really a sports movie at all. It's more of a you-go-girl vehicle for Zendaya, whose character is an unsympathetic girl boss of sorts. Again. And you know what? I have to be honest here. I'm kind of tired of seeing Zendaya in every movie. For starters, her acting range is extremely limited. Yes, she can play a quirky yet confident teenager, but that's about it. And anytime she takes on a role that presents her as a more mature woman, I just don't buy her performance at all. In Challengers, with the exception of the more believable teen flashback scenes, all we ever see from adult Zendaya is her making what can only be described as her usual Zendaya resting face. And sadly, I also suspect that these days, Zendaya's managers and agents only agree to book her for movie roles where she gets to play a quote-unquote modern-day woman, even if the screenplay has to be altered to achieve this. I'm looking at you, Dune Part 2. As a result, no matter what movie I see Zendaya in, she's always the smartest and most competent person in the room, and everybody around her worships her. And while I think that Zendaya is certainly cute and may look good as some type of runway model in real life, she never generates the type of femininity that would have me believe that two professional male athletes would be slobbering over her for their entire lives. Even the very moist male athletes that we see in this movie. As a counterexample, look at the classic sports movie The Natural starring Robert Redford and Kim Basinger. In that movie, I totally believe that her beauty and charm helps her wrap Robert Redford's character around her finger until he finally realizes that he's being manipulated. And it also helps that Robert Redford's portrayal of baseball player Roy Hobbs is reserved yet manly.
There goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was in this game.
But in Challengers, we don't get this level of writing at all. The way all three characters of this movie are written, none of them are especially likable, which means I couldn't really care less what happened to any of them. So what could have been a movie with real stakes and an emotional roller coaster ride of suspense and romance ends up feeling like a major chore to watch. It clearly wasn't made by people who understand anything about sports or about life for that matter. I can only imagine what somebody like Sylvester Stallone, who wrote and directed Rocky movies, would have been able to do with this type of story. But Luca Guadagnino is the exact opposite of Stallone. He likes seeing weak men act like losers when they compete, and even has them make out with each other at some point in the movie for some reason. Now I know some people may ask, if it's an original movie, and this is the movie that Guadagnino wanted to make, then why am I criticizing him? And I would say that it's a valid argument. However, this movie was billed as a sports drama, and as such, I wasn't expecting Sex in the City on a tennis court. In that sense, I feel like there's a bit of false advertising here, and perhaps this is ultimately what annoys me. If you were looking for some type of 2024-style female empowerment movie, maybe you would enjoy Challengers, but with that being said, I'm a dude. And moving forward, I think a movie like this should have a disclaimer in all of its marketing that says, "Not for dudes." Even as a date movie, I wouldn't recommend this thing because it doesn't even qualify as an acceptable rom-com of sorts. And once again, I'm faced with the difficult task of giving this movie a score. On the one hand, it's not completely incompetently made, and if you're a trendy modern woman, perhaps you'd enjoy this very niche-specific movie. For me, though, I can only go with my overall feeling, and watching this movie, I felt annoyed and I kept wanting it to end. And its 130-minute runtime didn't help much either. So if I had to give this movie a score, with anything below 60 out of 100 being considered a failing grade, I suppose I would give this movie a 50 out of 100. While some people may genuinely enjoy it, it certainly doesn't live up to all the hype we're seeing from the legacy media. If I was a cynical man, I would say that they mainly like this movie for reasons that aren't necessarily based on merit. Between the messaging, the influence, and the identities of the people involved, it's the exact kind of movie that the Hollywood establishment would embrace, even if it is an overrated snooze. But that's why I'm here to give you a more objective opinion on it, and if you like these type of honest reviews, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and get notifications. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. But I'm